Chef Jean-Pierre was not your typical chef. Sure, he had a puffy hat and a funny apron, but he was also really clumsy. Like really clumsy. His kitchen wasn't neat and tidy. It looked like a hurricane of flour and tomato sauce went off in there. One time Jean-Pierre tried to make a tall cake. He stacked it really high, like a tower. He called it Le Tour de Gâteau. It was wobbly, really wobbly. "Be careful, chef," shouted Henri, the sous chef. Henri had seen this before. It usually ended badly, and by badly he meant hilariously. Crash! The tower of cake went tumbling down. Jean-Pierre just shrugged. "More for us to eat," he said, grinning. Jean-Pierre wasn't just clumsy with food, he was clumsy with everything. One day he was trying to open a jar of mayonnaise. He twisted and turned that jar. Nothing. "Need some help, chef?" asked Marie, the pastry chef. She was tiny but tough. "I got this!" Jean-Pierre grunted. Suddenly the jar popped open. Mayonnaise flew everywhere. It landed on Marie's face. It landed on the ceiling. It even landed on a sleeping cat. "See, Marie, I told you I got this." Jean-Pierre laughed. Marie just sighed. Cleaning up after Jean-Pierre was basically her job now. Working in Jean-Pierre's kitchen was like playing dodgeball. Except instead of balls, it was flying vegetables, pans, and sometimes even raw fish. "Heads up" became the most common phrase in the kitchen. One time Jean-Pierre was flipping a pancake. He tossed it way too high. It soared through the air like a delicious UFO. "Heads up, pancake alert," shouted Jacques, the dishwasher. He ducked just in time. The pancake landed right on his head a second later. "Oops, sorry Jacques," Jean-Pierre yelled. He was already scraping burnt cake batter off the ceiling. Nobody was surprised. Even though Jean-Pierre was a walking disaster zone, everyone loved him. He was always cheerful, always optimistic. And most importantly, his food was amazing. Sure, it took a lot of cleaning, a few bandages, and maybe even a fire extinguisher now and then. But working with Jean-Pierre was never boring. Plus, at the end of a long day, they could all laugh about it together. Over a plate of slightly singed, probably dropped on the floor but still delicious food. It was just another day in the life of Chef Jean-Pierre.